Hey guys, my name is Jesse Kove. I play Varsity Captain David on Cobra Kai Season 3, and you are listening to Vibe 105.
Vibe Talks. More than just music.
Hey everybody, this is Giancarlo Aulino reporting for Vibe 105 with a Sports VIBEtalks segment where we're going to go once again into Cobra Kai. We had a great response last time with Martin Kove, Sensei John Kreese, and now we got a special guest again, his son who played Captain David on Season 3 in the flashback episodes. He's Jesse Kove. Jesse, how you doing?
I'm so great, man. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, just Season 3 of Cobra Kai. As soon as that dropped on the new year, 2021 started off with a bang there. Popular series on Netflix. How difficult was it for you to keep that secret that you're going to be on the show for Season 3?
Oh, man, it was so hard. I mean, so many people were asking me if I was going to be on Season 3. I didn't even know at the time when I auditioned for the role, but, it was definitely difficult for sure. It was as difficult as my dad had to keep it a secret that he was even on the show, going back to Season 1. And, it was exciting. I really wanted people to know because I was on the show in such a cool way. But, obviously the writers, they knew that keeping it a secret would be, have the best impact. So I'm really glad that, it was such a surprise to everybody. And it still is, even today. So it worked out great.
Yeah, you had me fooled there. A lot of people, you got fooled. Everybody thought you were the young Kreese when you rolled in that diner. You sat down, you said no mercy, and then all of a sudden we find out you're not Kreese. You're the varsity captain. So what went into your auditioning process? Did you think you were auditioning for young Kreese and then they took you aside and gave you a different character?
Well, I kind of did at first because they didn't really tell me much. They just told me that you're going to be this character. And then I said the lines, no mercy. And I was like, is this for a young Kreese? And I was like, okay, it kind of makes sense to be cool. I'm his son, be interesting. And then, they explained it to me in the room, what it was. And I was like, this is incredible, and then having the backstory, and then, he and I fighting and me bullying him. I was like, this is unbelievable. I mean, the fact that they even thought about having a character that did bully, John Kreese earlier on, it kind of gives him this incredible story of where he came from. So it was amazing. It was very exciting. And it was just incredible to be a part of the universe that way.
Yeah. And just even speaking on like this Karate Kid universe and like this iconic character that your father played, now when you just go in chronological order, like how does it make you feel that your father's iconic character starts off with you?
I mean, it's just so cool and unique. And, again, I just got to pay tribute to the writers, John, Josh, and Hayden, who thought of this in the first place. They're just so creative and they're such big fans of the show. They really know what the audience wants. And, they're like these big nerds themselves of the show and the Karate Kid universe, which has become so expansive. I mean, it's literally become like, the Marvel cinematic universe. It's just become, there's so many of these characters that have evolved so much, and there's so many stories to tell, young John Kreese, current John Kreese, maybe young Daniel or, and they've done young Johnny at certain times. They've just gone all around. And then, and then bringing in their children into this, it's incredible. I mean, it's really incredible. And, it is, like you said, it's very expansive, and it just become a sensation this way. And the fans are incredible. I mean, just incredible. The outpour of love and support that I've gotten from the fans is unlike anything I've ever been a part of. So, I'm so grateful for them, and it's just exciting, man. It's just really exciting to be a part of that and to share it with, everybody else on the show and to tell these stories of these characters that are really powerful, and people really love to watch these characters.
Yeah, I agree with you there. This is Giancarlo Aulino with a Sports VIBEtalks segment, being joined by Jesse Kove of Cobra Kai. And you just touched on it there, the popularity, the fan base, like comparing it to Marvel, and it just speaks and resonates to this multi-generational fan base they have. What did you notice? Because the show went on to Netflix for this season. The first two were on YouTube. So did you notice anything different, even the way maybe even your father's character was being looked at now that there's a bigger platform?
It's kind of interesting how that all happened. It was almost like this perfect storm, right? Because, Cobra Kai was on YouTube, which was great. It got the ball rolling. People got enrolled in the show. And then, not everybody saw it because it wasn't on this, the mainstream platform that Netflix is around the world. And so it was kind of like heard of and talked about, and it still broke records on YouTube, which was incredible. And then they moved over to Netflix. So they were kind of able to re-release the show again, as they did season 1 and 2, for basically the rest of the world. So people got to rewatch the seasons again, and then new people who had never heard of the show, but maybe had heard something about it, so there was this great excitement for it. And, unfortunately it happened during COVID. So a lot of people were home, but thankfully they were at home because they were able to see the show and under these circumstances, and, everybody was able to see it. And then finally they even rolled out season 3. I think it was like 4 to 6 months after they released season 1 and 2. So it was unbelievable. I mean, they just got this influx of Cobra Kai in like a 6-month span, which was just incredible. And people were so hungry for season 3, and people who had been waiting since YouTube have been waiting, I think, almost 2 years or a year and a half or longer to get season 3. So it was, this anticipated season, and they just did it perfectly. And Netflix, knew exactly what they had, and the marketing that they did for it. It was really just perfect. And the fans were so enthralled for season 3. They were just so ready for it. And when it went, it just shot out like a cannon, around the world. And it was unbelievable. And again, we were, breaking records. And, the cool thing about Cobra Kai is that it's for everybody. You can watch it. The parents can watch it with their kids who watched the original movies in the 80s. And then now the kids are watching the movies from the 80s. It's kind of this incredible nostalgic, like memoir of cinema and television all together. It's to me, it's just perfect.
Yeah. And your episode there, the action scenes were being praised a lot throughout the season, even the show right now. So when you were doing your fight scene, what was the whole process like? Like, what was the day like for preparing for that? Well,
at first I was very intimidated. They literally brought in this video, Hiro Koda, who's a stunt coordinator. And they literally shot this entire sequence on film with music edited of what they wanted to do. And they showed it to me, and I was like, what are you guys serious? You want me to do all this? Like, I had a few days to prepare. And then, we got into the dojo there at the studio, and we started rehearsing. And it was just like this perfect dance, right? Just kind of doing this move and that move. And then within about a half an hour, we had the whole thing down, and then we were just getting out the kinks, and it worked out perfectly. It was so smooth. And then, Barrett and I, who played Young Kreese, who's just such a great actor, he was a pleasure to work with, and he cared so much about this role. It was great to work with him, and we were able to work it out together, and it was just fun. He and I were literally like, we had bruises and we're bleeding and like we were sweating. It was hot, but we were having the time of our life. We both knew what this was and what we were representing, and we couldn't be more excited to do it. And it was very exciting for us. And, me, growing up around, doing athletic sports, and I still work out religiously today. So, I was able to kind of keep up with the pace of it. What's Cobra Kai without a fight scene? So it was great for me to be able to jump into those shoes and with someone who was willing to go there as well. And of course, the choreography was fantastic. It was a little bit different. It was a little bit more messy, a little street-like, because there was obviously none of us had any like real training as the characters. It was just this like, nasty street brawl in the back alley of a diner. So it was amazing, and it was a tough day too. It was raining. It was hot. It was thunderstorming. I was wearing this crazy big jacket. I was sweating in constantly. I had to put the AC unit like right in my face. But it was so much fun. And even my dad was there the whole time watching. I mean, he was videoing the whole thing while you were there. And it was so surreal to like see him watching me kick his ass, his younger self. Like, it was just weird, and he was laughing, had a huge smile ear to ear the whole time. The writers kept telling Marty, like, get out of the shot. You're in the shot. Get out of the shot. And it was amazing. It was a memory that I'll never, ever forget.
Was it scary at all? Like, because the actor who played Young Kreese, he had the mannerisms, everything down to a T. Was it scary at all? Like, you know what, you're acting like my dad a little too much there.
It was so cool, man. I just was watching him in awe, just kind of like, oh man, dude, that's perfect. That's so good, man. How did you do that? It was really like refreshing, to see someone portray my dad, which I've never really seen before, and especially as a young man. And he also put like his own little twists on it, which was really a nice touch. And put his own flavor into it, because Kreese as a young man is not the same as who he is today, and so there's maybe a little bit more innocence to him. And so it was great to watch that and just even have these conversations with him, like, from the diner table, talking to him, what are you looking at, freak? All that stuff. It was really interesting. And then to even have my dad in the corner with the directors watching, it was just kind of it was really, it's almost inexplainable, but, we stayed in character and I'm interacting with him. And, it was also fun for me to do this with this young character. And it was strange. I was like, oh, maybe I'd be friends with my dad back in, the 1960s. I was around.
Yeah, and like you also touched on before, like how this show, like so many fans, like the parents could watch it with their kids and all enjoy it together. You were born after the original Karate Kid. So when was the first time you saw the movie and what was your initial reaction to it?
So I was, obviously growing up, like there was movie posters and stuff around the house and, some of them were Karate Kid, some of the original artwork that he had. And, I knew my dad did something with movies or whatever, and I'd see his pictures. And then, when I was a kid, I remember just watching it on TV and people, referring to the Karate Kid all the time. And then I remember the first time I saw it, like, to me, it was like just watching a regular movie that I didn't really know. Okay, that's my dad. Oh, he's in this movie thing. Okay, cool. It's great. And then, it was like watching like some Disney movie as a kid, with the villain and the hero. And then, as I grew up, I really understood like the nuances of the film and how impactful the movie was to people. I had no idea how meaningful Karate Kid was to people until I got, much older. And now to me as well, aside from the family tie to the movie alone is just such a great film. It's just got that perfect recipe of, the villains and the heroes and the struggles and the underdog. I mean, and the bullying. It's a story that I think everybody deals with today. There's a generational storyline that I don't think, unfortunately doesn't go away. The bullying still exists, but it also, pays great tribute to that you can overcome these things and be victorious in that. And, Miyagi and Daniel. So it's just been, it's been a wild ride, and growing up around it was definitely surreal. You get a lot of questions like, "Was your dad like that in real life? Is he just as me?" And I'm like, "No, he's a big country boy at heart."
Yeah, and like just even going around that, like you're growing around your dad and like all the action roles, all the movie roles he had after. What was your first experience like on a film set, like that you remember?
Well, I remember whenever I visit the sets, it was kind of like it was like a little bit of a playground. I'd walk around, I'd look at stuff, and then as I got older, I would always want to like help and volunteer. Like I remember doing like set decoration on several sets. Like there was a Western my dad did years ago for like the Hallmark Channel. And I remember they let me like stack these beans and cans in this bar sequence and like put them on the shelf. And I was like, I was like 11. And so it was always been a part of my heritage being around movie sets. So, there's like a language and an understanding that I have being around sets. And, it's a very interesting place. People who haven't really spent time on a movie set, it's a very unique environment, and it's a very special place. It's also a very magical place. It's where creation happens and where art happens and these characters are created. So, to me, movie sets have always been like a second home for me. I love it. It never feels like work. And it's just a really, it's just like anyone else growing up around their industry, whatever that is, whether it's gardening or teaching or, politics, whatever it is, it's the same environment. Maybe their dad's a race car driver. They grow up around tools and, working on cars. Mine was film sets and cameras. So, that's the workplace for me. And it's a unique environment, but a very rewarding one. And I'm very happy with how things have turned out.
And is that like when you really wanted to get into acting when you were younger? Or was it more like later into maybe your teens or early 20s where you figured out, this is a path I want to go to?
I always knew somehow when I was younger that would be something I'd probably end up doing, because I always liked making little movies as a kid. I would use my soldiers and like my dad's camera, and I make all these, and I go, make all these sound effects and stuff, and like do like little explosions with matches and things like that. And so I always had this natural need to make movies and tell stories. And, then going into high school and stuff like that, I was always in the plays, and I loved doing accents. I loved making my mom laugh. I loved doing all these, funny jokes to make her laugh. And I always would perform as a magician to my family. On the holidays, I'd put on a cape and do all this stuff and do magic. So I always definitely loved performing in front of my family when I was younger. And my family never pushed me to be in the industry, because it's a crazy industry. There's no guarantees. It's very hard. You got to have like the heart of a lion and the skin of a rhino. A lot of rejection, and it's just part of what it is. But you can persevere. It's a dream as well, and you just have to never give up on that dream. And each year has been better than the next for me, and I'm never giving up. And so when I was around 18, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this professionally. Got an agent. And again, you know, my dad, he didn't really want me to be in the industry. You know, so when I made that choice, he was like, okay, great. Like, you know, go out there and I audition like everybody else. You know, I'd go to auditions all over town, and I worked as a PA on different sets. And, you know, I started from the bottom and worked my way, and, you know, I'm still striving to get to certain places that I want to be. But, you know, again, usually when I'm on set, it doesn't ever feel like work. So I guess that's the epitome of, you know, living out your dreams, I guess.
And what was maybe a misconception you had about acting? Like, I'm sure a lot of people, they hear the audition process. Was there something going into it that you thought it wasn't going to be like that? And then after auditioning and just being around, like getting into a character in a role like that?
For Cobra Kai?
Yeah. Or just like even any of your characters that you played in general?
Yeah. I mean, there's always, you know, every process I feel like is different and similar at the same time. You know, depending on the role, I'm always trying to bring obviously my own take on something, which I hope is meaningful for people, or, you know, touches them in a way that, you know, they take away something from it. You know, I love to do things that are challenging for me and also resonate with people. So they're moved to some degree, or they're, you know, they think about things differently, you know, and, you know, I love to work hard for the character. And it's, you know, I think it's important that when an audience member sees a movie, that they're maybe taken out of their own reality and they're completely put in this reality, you know, and they can sit with these characters and just fully enjoy them and be entertained and laugh or cry, you know, or be on the edge of their seat with action. You know, it's a really special thing. And, you know, the process that I have is always changing continuously. You know, I'm always learning and wanting to do different and wanting to do better. I'll probably end up being that way for the rest of my life. You know, it's always like, it's like that saying, like, when is like a painter's last stroke on their painting, right? Are they ever finished? You know, they're always working at it. So, you know, sometimes I can be hard on myself, and I look at projects I did 5 years ago. I was like, oh God, I could have done that differently or changed that. And, you know, it is what it is at the time. That's what I was doing. So, you know, I've been to different acting schools, and also, you know, I've come up with some of my own stuff that I do. And then obviously my dad has an influence as well. And I come to him sometimes, and he comes to me with things. We help each other out that way. So there's a lot that goes into it, and it's always evolving and always changing.
That's great to hear. And like, also just reading up on your career, you also you were on producer role. So what was that like, being not in front of the camera and being a part of the production team?
You know, one of my favorite movies I produced was called As Night Comes, and it, you know, got critical acclaim. It was a teen crime drama, and it starred Luke Baines and Michael Olivier, directed by Richard Zelniker, who was my producing partner at the time. Great script, incredible story, also about bullying, and also like it also dealt with like bullying also comes from like the parents, right? And it was kind of like Clockwork Orange in modern day times, and The Outsiders, a little bit of The Outsiders. And it's actually, I love being behind the camera and in front of the camera. I love to direct, and I love to, you know, producing is great, because producing is all about just getting things together and making things go right and connecting people. And it's like it's this beautiful art form and communication. Producing is a lot of fun. And, you know, and it's also creative at the same time, you know, and there's a way like that you know, when you're directing something and behind the camera, it's so amazing to have a vision of something and then have another actor bring that to life in the way that you envisioned, and to be able to communicate with that and work hand in hand with them to bring that story. Because at the end of the day, all we're doing is telling stories, right? And if we can get the best people to tell those stories in a beautiful, creative way, and maybe a way that's also refreshing and new that maybe you didn't know about, you know, that's in the hands of the actor, because hopefully a director, you know, they bring it to an actor and they bring their take on it. And it's just it's a beautiful creative process on all aspects: producing, directing, writing. And that's the magic of filmmaking, is all these different aspects coming together to create this story.
Yeah. And once again, for those who's joining us here on Vibe 105, we're being joined by Jesse Kove of Cobra Kai. And Jesse, I like what you brought up there, just the creative process and giving the audience something that maybe escape reality at times. Growing up, what were some of your favorite movies? Because I remember asking your dad, and he was big on Westerns. Like, did you share that same love for Westerns, or was there another genre that you mostly went towards?
I mean, we definitely share a lot of classic films, you know, Good, the Bad, the Ugly. There's classic films like Casablanca. And also, you know, I love, like when I was growing up in movies like Titanic that I love, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, all these amazing movies that I cherish. And I love all movies. I love comedies. I love romantic comedies. I love, you know, action films. I love also movies that just take you completely into another world, fantasy films. I just love all aspects of film. And, you know, there's so many, but, you know, I think that, and there's obviously like a lot of Disney movies that I watched growing up. There's like, you know, Bambi, and like, you know, Dumbo, all the classics, you know what I mean? And that are timeless movies, Homeward Bound. Those are when I'm going way back. But there's just a lot. And then, you know, it's been fun to see as the times change, you know, different movies are resurfacing from the past, like Cobra Kai, you know. So it's, there's just, honestly, there's so many.
Yeah, and like even the viewing habits, like some of those movies, the nostalgia value, instead of coming back as a movie and a sequel, they're going more into long form TV series. So do you think that will be more of the direction as viewing habits change? Could we see more nostalgia based movies come back into series, even on Netflix?
Oh, I think so for sure. I mean, one of the great things that you know, expanding them into a TV series is that you get to live with these characters a lot longer and see aspects of them that you wouldn't get to see in a movie, because the movie's got like 2 hours, 3 hours, you know, hour and a half even, to see these characters. But there's something also beautiful about that as well. To have this encapsulated entire film in a 2-hour period, you know, is beautiful on its own. And that's what it is. And, you know, then when you get to the TV series, you get to expand upon these characters and other characters and see them in ways you didn't get a chance to see. Like, oh, how do they cook their meals? You know, I mean, how do they do these random things that you never got to get to see in a movie because they didn't have enough time to do it? There's no purpose for it. So I think it's a beautiful marriage, movies and TV. And I think it's great when movies become television series, and then when TV series become movies as well. You know, it's this beautiful push and pull. And right now, you know, obviously streaming is such a big deal and everybody's at home right now. So I think it's great that, you know, there's just such a golden age of television. You know, to me, it's all the same because people are watching movies and television series. So I think it's great, you know, that people are able to watch, you know, my work or anybody else's work in the cinema world or television world at play. It's just fantastic. Like I said, it's a golden age. So it's a super exciting time for that. And I think that expanding movies into TV series is always a great option.
Yeah. With Jesse Kove here on Vibe 105. And Jesse, you know, before we went on here, you were talking about your love for sports, being athletic growing up. So what are some of the sports you enjoy watching most?
Well, when I was younger, I loved playing baseball. I was a catcher and I was also right field. I could throw the whole field, it was one of my favorite things to do was play baseball. And obviously I played with my dad a lot, and he played growing up. So watching baseball was always so much fun, you know, watching the World Series. You know, I'm definitely a Dodger fan, from LA, but I like, you know, any great team that's playing, I love to watch. Obviously love to watch football. Football's, you know, great. It's for my dad and I's team. We share the Dallas Cowboys. That's our team that we love. And it's just it's fun. One of my favorite memories is always just watching sports with my dad. And you see a little bit of John Kreese coming out when he's yelling at the TV. But yeah, sports are great. You know, I'm naturally very competitive, whether it's playing board games or it's on a set or it's, you know, playing competitive sports. You know, it's just part of who I am. And, you know, I think there's something great about that as well. You know, having this desire to win no matter what it is. And if someone beats me, great. I will shake their hand at the end and, you know, say good job.
Yeah, you mentioned the Dodgers there. World Series. What is that like in LA when a team like that wins a World Series?
Oh, man, it's crazy, man. I mean, it's like, it's funny because LA is unique in its own way. There's so much going on in LA with the industry, you know, and everything else that's going on. You know, it's like, I mean, the fans literally, sometimes they ride in the streets, which I don't condone at all, but, you know, that's the excitement of some of the fans. But, you know, it's awesome. You know, you can feel the energy in the town when something like that happens. You know, when there's a Lakers game or something like that, you can feel like everybody's going down to Staples Center. You know, it's really, it's very exciting.
Yeah, and on the flip side to that, I'm glad you brought up the Dallas Cowboys because we share what it's also like to not have a team be successful. Like here in Toronto, the Toronto Maple Leafs haven't won since 1967 in hockey, and the Dallas Cowboys, I'm sure you know there's history. So what's it like with the frustrations of being a fan there?
Oh man, it's I don't get too frustrated. I don't get down on it at all. It's funny. My dad and I, our best days watching Dallas Cowboys when like Tony Romo was playing. I remember like we would sit down, like just religiously watch all their games, and we don't watch them as much anymore. We've both been very busy, and but I try not to get too frustrated. If they're not frustrated with me, I'm not frustrated with them. So I think that would be undeserving of each other. But I'm pretty level-headed watching all these games. I'm just happy to watch a good competitive sports game when I'm able to watch. It's very relaxing for me and also for my family. Like when we watched the Super Bowl, I was actually in Atlanta watching it with my dad, which was really fun. And it was a great time. We were excited, especially because of, with COVID happening, it was nice to just have something like the Super Bowl on that I think for the entire country, we were able to just kind of, like I said earlier, get out of this reality and be in that reality, and see performances and dance and have sports play and cheering for, whichever team to win. And, I think that's important. I think sports are also important for, the world. It's important for people to watch and like, just like watching movies, sports is just a similar reality for people to get invested in so that they can, get away from the stresses of life,
And just also, we heard about some of your favorite genres. We heard your favorite teams. Who is a favorite athlete of yours that you admired growing up?
Oh God, that's so good. So many. I mean, when I was growing up, my dad, we always watched like classic, baseball, and I'm trying to think of one of my favorite athletes growing up. I mean, obviously someone that I didn't specifically, that I later on in life who became one of my favorite athletes because I read about his history was like, I loved Michael Jordan as, who he was as an athlete and who he was as a man. His coach, I just blanked on his name. I read his book Relentless, which I loved. It was Tim Grover, and he is amazing. And I love his whole journey of his life and where he came from. When I was younger, I appreciated all these different fans, but then as I got older, I was able to really understand like the man or the woman behind the athlete. And then because there's like an athlete on the field, and then there's like the athlete of who they were in life. You know what I mean? And I think both of those things kind of come together, and someone like, Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, like they were athletes in life as well as on the field or, on the court. And I think that was something that I've come to respect even more as I've gotten older, who they are as a man, a family man or family woman. And those are who my favorite athletes are.
Did you ever get a chance to meet them as you got older, or just missed out on them?
I didn't meet those guys. I met Tim at an event, and he actually let me hold the ring that Michael Jordan had made for him when he won, I think, his like fifth championship, which was crazy. I have a picture of me holding this ring. I was like, dude, this is unbelievable. And so that's the closest I got to meeting any of them. But boy, it'd be incredible. Hopefully so.
Yeah, hopefully. Michael Jordan, I don't know if he's in the Toronto areas, but we'll get the message relayed to him. Hopefully can make this happen. Maybe put in a good word. Maybe I can meet him too. But
every home in America, he's on the wall somewhere.
Yeah, well, for sure. That iconic dunk, those championships live on forever. And speaking of living on forever, I want to just talk about, as we wrap up here, your dad's character, Sensei John Kreese. If you were to, I guess, best describe your dad and his character, is he most like him or is he the total opposite?
Oh, he's total opposite. I mean, I always joke around there's elements of John Kreese that come out when he stubs his toe or when he's sitting in traffic or he's, late to the airport or something. That's not his fault. But my he's a great man. He's the love of nature and cinema and film. And, he's got a green thumb, loves to garden, and he loves to ride horses, as do I. He and I go on a horseback riding trip every year together. And my dad's basically like a cowboy at heart. He's like a gunslinger cowboy at heart, like a guy just on the desert prairie, just riding into the sunset. That's who my dad is.
That's great to hear. And before we wrap up here, Jesse, how can our listeners follow you on social media?
I'm very active, obviously, on my Instagram at Jesse Kove, JESSEKOVE, my Twitter as well. I love hearing from my fans. I usually reply to everyone as much as I can. Love chatting with the fans. Obviously, I'm on Facebook too, but that's my public profile on there. But Instagram is the best place to follow me and see everything that I have going on. Very much look forward to hearing from you guys.
Well, Jesse, I'd like to thank you for sharing your time and coming on Vibe 105 to talk all things Cobra Kai, movies, and sports with me. And I wish you all the best.
Oh, thank you so much, man.
That was Jesse Kove of season 3 of Cobra Kai. Now we're going to send it back to the studio for more programming right here on Vibe 105.